Hey guys, it's Kaz here, aka Cats and Camera, and today I'm doing my October wrap up. So in October I participated in 3 readathons. So when I did my TBR I was like, this is crazy, this is not going to happen. Guess what? I read 15 things. What? So because of that I'm not going to go crazy into a lot of these. Some of them I'll go into more than others, but some of them I'll just give it a little quick thing. So first of all I read All American Boys by Jason Reynolds and Brendan Keeley. This one I really enjoyed. It's about this black kid who goes into a shop, he wants to just buy some crisps, and the shop owner and a police officer mistake what he's doing for theft, and he gets beaten up pretty badly by the police officer. It also follows this white kid who witnesses what happens, but is also friends with the family that the police officer belongs to. He's been friends with them and known them pretty much all his life. So there's a lot of sort of internal struggles over whether he should talk to somebody about what he saw or whether he should just leave it, whose side he should be on. You get to see sort of both sides of the coin and why certain things are happening. And there's a lot to do with social media in here as well, of schools getting divided, of different movements. So yeah, you should definitely check it out. Next up I read The Kingsman. This is book 3 in the All for the Game series by Nora Sakovic. And this was so good, 5 stars. It's basically about this team of Xe players. Xe is a made up sport in here, but it's so good I actually can literally picture a game. I would love to watch it. But yeah, the team we follow is a ragtag bunch of sort of delinquents and people that have had bad pasts and bad futures, that are violent, that have had emotional things happen to them. And they're put together in this team to try and work through it and become an actual team rather than individuals. And it's just so good. If you're triggered by pretty much anything, then probably don't read it, but if you like really dark stories where everybody's really grey and even the main characters are they're all a bit of a dick, but they're so lovable as well, then you should definitely check this series out. Next up I read Death Note Volume 3. This is by Yami Oba and Takeshi Obata, and yeah, I really enjoyed this. Most people know what Death Note is, so I'm not going to go into it crazily. Next up I read House of Mystery. This is by Matthew Sturges, Bill Willingham and Luca Rossi. This was kind of weird. There's a lot of... It follows a bunch of these different characters and they're going through this weird house. They've got trapped there and they're all telling stories, and that's how they get their drinks at the bar, by telling stories. It was okay, I give it like 3 stars. Here's a sort of artwork in here. Some of it's kind of different, I think it's done by different people, but most of it's the same. But yeah, some of the stories are pretty cool, some of it was just random. Next up I read Offbeat. This is by Jen Lee Quick, Volume 1. This one, I was kind of disappointed in it. On the back it does sound kind of stalkery-ish. Basically it follows this kid, Tori, who notices one of his neighbours and then starts following him about and trying to figure out who he is. But at the bottom it says, Jen Lee Quick has crafted a wildly imaginative romantic drama filled with all the hopes, dreams and anxieties of teenagers trying to make sense of their place in the world. Which kind of made me think, maybe it's not going to be as weird and stalkery-ish. Literally, the beginning of this, Tori sees this guy across the road, this new person, and then it jumps to a year later. A year. And Tori has moved schools just so he can go to this other school where this guy is so he can figure it out more. A year! He's been spending a year being a little stalker on this guy and has literally moved to a different school just to find out more about him. It was... yeah, I didn't really like that. I don't think it would have been as bad as if it was just his actual school that was already going to and oh, there's a new kid. But waiting a whole year and then moving to another school just so you can stalk this guy, he writes down every single thing in his little notebook that this guy does. It's weird. It's just, I mean, you'll know what it looks like. It just looks like how manga's drawn. Next up I read Death Note Volume 4 by again Tsugami Oba and Takeshi Obata. This one we're introduced to a new character and it takes a bit of a different turn. Here's what it looks like inside. I didn't do it with the first one I've shown. Next up I read The Witches of Chiswick by Robert Rankin. This one is something that I wouldn't have picked up, so I'm kind of glad that I had challenges that this fit into. It's about this main character Will, who's in this future where everything's it's a bit shit really. It's a very silly future. There's sort of religions based on IKEA, just silly things like that, and it's very over the top. And then robots come and he has to go back in time to stop these witches from changing the future. My favourite character is a Brussels sprout that he puts in his ear, so that kind of shows you how silly this is. But it was definitely enjoyable. It did make me laugh a few times. Next up, I read Room by Emma Donoghue. This is the one that I took to Norway with me. This one is about a mother and son who some guy has stolen the woman and forced her to live in his back garden. And she has a baby, and it's about her and Jack, the child, who is now 5. And it's told from his point of view, which I felt like it could have been annoying, but it was done really well in here because he was quite intelligent, because it's just him and his mum sat in a room. She's been teaching him a lot. She wants him to learn. He's got really good vocabulary. And because of that, there's a lot of this childish naivety, and but it's also written in a way that's not going to be annoying. Obviously, trigger warnings for being held captive and abuse and rape, because obviously how else was Jack born. Next up, I read Trick or Treat by Richie Tankersley Cusick, and I literally only just realised that she's a girl. How did I not know that? I thought this was a male author, but it's a woman. That's literally got nothing to do with anything, but when I noticed it I was like, what? It's just when you have something pictures in your head and it just completely goes, like 10 years later you realise it's completely wrong. This follows Martha, who moves with her dad into this new creepy old house with her dad's new wife and her son Connor, and she finds out all the background of what happened at this house and that someone was murdered. And I enjoy these point horror books because they always keep you guessing, even though they are a bit silly and a bit cheesy. Whenever you meet a new character, you're like, oh, are they going to be the person that's doing all the bad stuff? Are they a murderer? Are they a bad guy? So it's quite fun when you're reading along with it. It keeps you guessing, and yeah, it was just a really enjoyable quick read. Next up, I read The Losers Book 1. This is by Andy Diggle and Jock. This one I saw the film years and years and years ago. I kind of knew a little bit of the ins and outs of this, and I'm glad that I had watched the film because it was a little bit all over the place. It's about this group of special ops, and they were involved in something and now they're kind of on the run because they're meant to be dead, but they got away from it. It was okay. I didn't enjoy it that much, to be honest. I felt like there wasn't enough characterisation for all the characters because I can't tell you what any of these people are called. When I was reading it, you didn't really get to meet the characters first. It just kind of went straight into it and you're meant to know what's happening. But it's book 1. So yeah, I didn't really connect with them. Next up, yes, you guessed it, Death Note, Volume 5. This is the last one, I swear. This, again, is by... I like how I've said it 3 times and I still have to look at the name so I don't get it wrong. And also, I've probably got it wrong every single time I've said it. But this is by Sugami Oba and Takeshi Obata. Yes. Next up, I read 30 Days of Night. This is Return to Barrow by Steve Niles and Ben Templesmith. This is just a fun horror graphic novel. It's just... there's not that much storyline behind it. There's just a lot of killings. But I quite like the sort of spooky artwork in here. Yeah, there's a lot of this muted blue colour, and then when stuff kicks off it goes really red and orange, so I like looking at it. This is about a town in Alaska where it becomes nighttime for a month and then the vampires come out to play. Next up, I read Kick-Ass, the prelude. Hit Girl. This is a prelude to Kick-Ass 2. As you can probably tell, we follow Hit Girl around and she's navigating school and being this badass, trying to balance the two without her parents finding out. Here's a sort of artwork in here. I enjoy this artwork as well. But yeah, I enjoyed this. I like seeing sort of a different side of Hit Girl, how she can be an absolute badass and take down these full-grown men, but when there's a young girl bullying her at school, it's kind of hard for her. Next up, One of Us by Asne Seestad. I don't know if I pronounced that right, Soz. But, oh my god, this book is quite slow at the beginning because there's so much information in here, but it's so good. 5 stars. This is about this mass murder that happened in Norway in 2011. this guy, Anders Breivik, basically went to a government building, set off a bomb where he killed 8 people, and then he proceeded to drive across Oslo and go to... I can actually feel myself welling up, oh my god. He went to an island where loads of teenagers and young people were there because they were pretty much left-wing, and he went and... oh my god, I can't believe I'm crying. And he went on this island and just killed a lot of people. I can't believe I'm getting so emotional. I didn't even cry when I was reading this. I think the good thing about this, like literally I can't believe I'm crying. The thing about this book that makes it so different to a lot of other true crime that I've read, which I haven't really read that much, I've read a bits and pieces, but the thing that makes this different is that we get a lot of background on the kids, on the people that were killed. Because when you think about it, you know, everybody knows Jeffrey Dahmer's name, but do you know the people that he kills names? Everybody knows, you know, just think of a murderer, Charles Manson, or I can't even think right now of anybody, but normally books are, you know, they get famous and the people that they killed are just people that they killed. But in here, we get so much background information about the people, some of the kids. Obviously there was over 60 kids killed. The youngest one was 14. But yes, we get a lot of... oh my god. That's probably what it sounded like on this island. Because it was an island, people couldn't even get away. But yes, we hear a lot about the people that it happened to. And I felt like I knew them. I felt really close to some of these kids. Some of them survived. Obviously that's how we got so much of the information in this book, because it's from first-hand accounts of what happened. And some of them didn't survive. I think it's an absolute testament to Asne Seerstad that when I think of the name Anders, I don't think of the murderer. I think of Anders Christiansen, who was an 18-year-old who got killed here. There's a lot about him. I think about Simon, about Marguerite, about Vilja and his brother. After I read this, I had to go online and look at pictures of all these people because I felt so close to them. I felt like I knew them because I knew their story. Oh my god. I didn't care about looking into this guy that did it. I felt like I wanted to know the victims, and that's how it should be when so many people have their lives taken from them. We put so much media attention on the person that does it, but sometimes we kind of forget that the people that got killed were people. And this book does such a good job of showing you their background. Like I say, obviously not all of them. 69 people were killed on the island and 8 were killed in the explosion. So obviously we couldn't learn about everybody. But Seerstad made a point of putting a bit in about every single person that got killed on the island. So even if there were only one chapter, even if it only talks about the moment that it happened, everybody gets their story told in here. I can't believe I'm crying. I know I already said this, but I didn't even cry when I read it because it was just, there was so much information and it was so kind of just there in black and white telling you exactly what happened. And oh my god, it's crazy because the guy tried to give himself up twice, but the police were just useless, and it took the police so long to get onto the island. There was a media helicopter 45 minutes before any police filming all these kids getting killed. It's just crazy. You should read this to find out all the information, but so many things went wrong and people not realising what they should do, and because something like this had never happened in Norway before, the police pretty much did not know how to deal with it. And because of that, I mean, this guy should have been caught when the bomb went off, because literally 5 minutes after it went off, somebody phoned the police with a description of him and the number plate of the van he was in. And it took him like an hour and a half to drive over to the island and in that time it could have been stopped. It's just crazy how many things went wrong and how much people didn't know how to deal with something like this. If this hasn't made you think that you should probably read this, I don't know, some people obviously would not want to know about this because it is very clinical about how stuff happened. You get told every single bullet hole that went into somebody. So it is quite heavy, the chapter when it starts talking about that, but a lot of the front of the book, the first half of it, is about the background of people. Obviously we do get background from the murderer as well, but he doesn't picture it. He doesn't portray him in a light that makes you want to look up to him. It just seems like a fucking idiot. It starts out with a little snippet of what happened on that Friday, where it talks about these 11 kids that thought it'd be a good idea to lay down and pretend they were dead. And he just proceeded to stand above them and shot them all in the head. And one of them survived, and that's how she told everybody what happened. So yeah, it's very clinical. It does tell you exactly what happens. It tells you the bullets that went in. So if that's not something you can read about, then obviously it's not for you, but if it's something that you can, you should definitely check it out. Also, side note, look how good this copy is. There's a little bit of damage here, but that's because I kept putting it in my bag. But this was only £2.81 off eBay, and there's still books for £2.81 on eBay, so it's not even going to cost a lot if you want to grab it. And last but not least, I read The Forest of Hands and Teeth by Carrie Ryan. This is about zombies. I've not really read very many zombie books. It follows this girl Mary who's in this really enclosed village that's surrounded by a forest, and they're pretty much just trapped in there because on the outside in the forest it's just full of zombies. They don't call them zombies, they call them unconsecrated. But Mary has a dream of going outside the village. She feels like there should be a world out there somewhere because from being a little kid her mum told her about the ocean. I enjoyed it. The characters, I didn't feel a massive amount of attachment to the characters, but it was definitely enjoyable, and I think I probably would read the next book, even though it's not necessarily following the same characters, but it's in the same world of this zombie uprising. So yeah, that is the 15 things that I read in October, which is crazy. So tell me down below what you read in October, or if you have read any of these, or if you want to read any of these, then tell me down below in the comments. I would love to start up a conversation with you. As I said at the beginning, if you want to know more of my feelings about anything, then let's have a conversation down below. If this is your first video by me and you enjoyed it, then please check out some of my others, and if you continue to enjoy them, then please subscribe. That'd be awesome. Anyway guys, I will see you in a few days with another video. Bye.